Andy Baldwin. How are you, sir?
Good, and you, David?
Doing fine, doing fine. Hey, Andy, I appreciate you joining the channel today. I thought this would be kind of interesting and pretty fun just to kind of go around with some different specialists in their field and talk to them about what's going on today. So,
Sure. Yeah,
okay, so
and as you can see, I'm at home. Like so many other people that are working from home. But the beauty of it is, I have the ability to do my work from home, so that we can still, take care of people and families.
hey, that's awesome. Being in the computer field, I also, have a chance to be able to work remotely too. Matter of fact, the majority of my clients are remote. So, okay,
Awesome.
so today we're talking to Andy Baldwin. Andy works for World Financial Group, and he is a financial professional. Hey, Andy, tell us a little bit about what you do with World Financial Group and the difference in. So you're an independent agent, correct? Not a captive agent.
Correct, right. And just so people understand, being an independent agent, we're not held captive to any one company or product. In fact, our company, we have contracts with about 150 or so A-rated companies, and they're all companies that a lot of people are familiar with. Companies like Transamerica, Pacific Life, Nationwide is on your side. We get to work with great companies like Nationwide, Prudential, Franklin Templeton, Allianz, and the list just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So what that does for us is we have the ability, instead of trying to convince you that the one product that my company might sell, being a captive agent, is the best one for you, as an independent agent, we actually get to go to work for the client and do our research and find the best fit for their needs, not my needs.
Right. That's awesome. Andy, I also came out of the financial industry too. I was actually an IT guy. I
Okay.
worked for a major company in the financial world, and so I dealt with people just like you with their IT needs, not their
Okay.
financial. So I've been around the business a lot. I've heard a lot of different things through the business, and one thing I do know is, so my company had captive agents,
Yes.
and even though that sounded great, you're only as good as the product that they sell. Where you can go outside the channel and you can deal with hundreds of other companies, so guaranteed to provide the best product for your client, not the best product that you offer.
Exactly.
So,
That's exactly what we're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Andy, right now, but we got a huge issue with the pandemic that's going on right now.
we sure
Uh,
do.
with people losing their jobs. Like, I just talked to a client the other day, and they were like, my husband just lost his job with 16,000 other people, lost
Holy
his
cow.
insurance, lost everything. I mean, what a hardship. What are you telling your group, your folks right now, and the people that you talk to about, how to react? Don't freak out. What are you telling them?
Yeah, well, first of all, we don't want anybody to panic, because panic does nothing good for anybody. When people panic and start making rash decisions, that's usually when they get themselves in more trouble instead of less trouble. Everybody's situation is unique. If they're in a situation where they're permanently laid off, there's different things we can do to help. We can look at their 401ks. Do they have access to money that they can utilize right now? Do they want to roll over money? Because there are situations where you would want to roll money out of that 401k into something a little more secure and more stable. And then, are there opportunities for other vehicles or other avenues of making that money work for them, to help prolong certain situations?
Right. So, what would you suggest? I mean, wait a little bit. I mean, with everything going on right now, I guess one of the issues is, what, this just happened to me. I
Uh-huh.
need to get my legs up under me, figure out exactly what's going on. Like,
Right.
typically, how long should, a prospect or a potential client, how long should they wait before they react? I mean, if we're talking about, so you got two different scenarios. You're talking about a company that cuts back that doesn't totally lay you off. So I don't think at that point you can get rid of assets from the company or 401k, can you?
No, well, in fact, the government has just passed I don't know if they're calling it a law or an act, but it's a way for people to have access, liquid access to a certain dollar amount, not all of their 401k, but they can gain access to a certain dollar amount and defer the payment of taxes over the next couple of years. And details are still coming out, so I don't have all the details yet. And as the details are finalized, and I was talking to my own 401k company today, and because I wanted to ask some of these questions because I knew they would come up. And what they're telling people is that because of all of this just coming about, certain things are going to have to be put in place, so they're not going to be able to do anything right away. It's going to take a couple of days to a week to be able to gain access to these funds. But at the same time, we don't want them to panic. We don't want them to overdo, because then you start creating different tax situations.
Hey, I guess we had a little break in service there.
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know, man. It's kind of scary with everything going on. Service breaks, and what next? So
Right.
okay, so I'm sure that we can recover off this, but Andy, these are really like difficult times. How long should somebody that got laid off, or when I say laid off, the company closing. So for example, client just called me 2 days ago. Husband worked for Rock Bottom and Logan's, 16 or 17,000 people, out of a job, all
Yeah.
all the money that they have possibly is either locked down with that company in 401k, or
Right.
it's in the bank. What if?
Now, that's a little bit of an extreme situation, okay? And one of the things that I would look at recommending, depending on the structure of their company and what type of situation is happening. If they're going bankrupt, then I would strongly suggest give me a call. Let's start a conversation and see if we can't roll that money over into a protected account. Get it out of that 401k, get it into a protected account, because the longer things progress, the more that could hurt your client. Gotcha. Because depending on how they're structured, how their 401k is set up, there's a lot of things about 401ks people don't realize. And that's where one of the benefits of our company comes into play, is we actually take people through an education on these different things. It's not just here, check the box that says 401k. We explain to people, yes, you may be in the 401k, but what are the different risks? What are the different risk classes? Do you have control over any of the investments? And most of the time, the answer is no. So we want to be able to guide them through doing things the right way. But most, in a situation like this where he's been, laid off, the company's filing bankruptcy, we definitely want to try to help him get his money out now while it's still possible.
Okay, great. So what about ones that might have both a 401k and a pension? If they're in a pension plan, is that pension plan, can it be tied up with the bankrupt, or say if a company goes bankrupt?
It very well could, yeah. In fact, when General Motors, when they filed bankruptcy, it did away with their pension plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they need to be acting now. If
they need to be acting now, if that's the case. Again, and a pension plan is different because the client typically doesn't have any control over the funds available. And again, we would need to sit down with their policy or their plan or whatever documentation they have and review everything to make sure that we're giving them the correct advice.
Right.
If it's a 401k, 401ks typically stay where they're at, and you have a certain amount of time to roll them over. And when you do roll them over, we caution people that, you may get some pushback from the manager or the facilitator of that account. And they'll try to scare you with tactics of, oh, you're going to have to pay penalties, or, oh, you're going to have to pay taxes. That's not necessarily the case. There are, in most cases, when we roll from one product to another product, we're doing what they call a 1035 exchange, in that it does not create a taxable or a penalizing situation. You're just moving money from this company, from A company to B company, and there's nothing involved, because they do the money's transfer directly from one company to the other.
Right.
If they send the money to you as an individual, you have to turn around and send it right to the next company, not changing any of the value. Because once you change the value, in other words, let's say you had $25,000 you wanted to roll over, and the company by accident sends the check to you.
Right.
If you take any of that money and put it and don't and leave it in your checking account, and don't give the whole 25,000 to the next company, that puts you in a taxable situation, in a penalized situation.
Wow.
Yet if you just take the 25 and move it from company A to company B, then there's no taxes, no penalties.
Right. That's pretty scary, because I think a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot of people know that, but there's probably a few that do. But what are the odds that, man, when you're talking about, everything that's going on right now, people are freaking out. Sometimes you're not in your right mind to make the best decisions.
Exactly.
So I think two scenarios. I think one, somebody could sit back and go, I want to get my legs up under me good before I make any decisions.
Yep.
Or they just freak out and try to move, day one on something that might be too early. So they should move. What I'm hearing from you is they should move early, but they need to consult somebody like yourself, a true professional, and not, because there are a lot of Google financial experts
there are
right now.
And it's great that you mentioned that, because one thing that I always caution people with is there are a lot of Google gurus out there, and people that will give advice, and a lot of times it's good advice. However, when you take advice from a non-licensed professional, you are taking a chance that you're not getting the correct advice. And not all advice is good for everybody. There's no one size fits all kind of thing. So it's really something that people definitely do need to sit down. And one of the things that we do offer to clients for us to do is, hey, look, when you're ready to make these moves, put us on the phone with that company. So we'll be glad to get on the phone with your with the 401k provider that you're working with when you're trying to move, so that we can ask the questions and we can get them beyond the scare tactics and just say, hey, look, we know what you're trying to do. Let us take care of this and be done with it.
Right. And that's good news. That's good news, because when you don't know this information, you can really screw up for a long period of times. I've known people that I work with in the past that got laid off. They dumped their 401k because they were like, hey, I need to liquefy. I need cash right now. So in some ways that might sound like, what, I'm living for the day, but they burnt themselves for tomorrow. So
Let
me ask you this on that note. So is there a process or a way to, so there's always things that you can do as far as if there's what am I trying to say? If there's a hardship or a burden, is there anything in place now where?
I'm sorry, David, I'm losing volume on you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No, I've lost you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Are you there, David?
Yep. Can you hear me?
I've lost. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what it is. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, it was on my end.
Oh, that's all right. Hey, as long as you're good on the financial side, we won't worry about the technology side.
Right. That's what you're there for, right?
Right. So what I was going to say is, or what I was saying is, so somebody that doesn't want to do that, is there a way that if somebody says, I can move my money over to you or to another financial, service provider like that,
sure,
or professional, is there a way that I can move that over? And then still, if something like, if this thing drags on for more time, and if I need to liquefy some cash, is there plans in place where you could do that with little ease?
Yes. That's the beauty of, again, coming to, working with us in our firm is that when you check that magical box that just says 401k at your work, your company that provides that, they can actually set the parameters of how much money you can get out, what conditions you can take it out under, and anything of that nature. When you roll it out of that company in a layoff situation or a termination of employment, any situation where we can roll that for you, then we can set up your new plan to give you accessibility. Sometimes a lot of our accounts that we work with now, they have either minimal penalties or no penalties, depending on the type of account it goes into, for early withdrawal. There are there's such a variety of what we can do to make the burden less on the customer than just your traditional 401k.
Right, man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Andy, I think that's about all the questions I have, sir. And
Okay.
I appreciate your time, and I think it was very informative. And I'm going to.
Yeah, let me just throw something else out there too, of what we're seeing from our prospect, especially with this whole Corona thing. And I don't know if you've run into this at all yet, David, or not, but we've been seeing a lot of people asking about life insurance lately. And, just to let people know, if you don't have life insurance, or if you only had life insurance at work, give us a call, because we can help you get life insurance. We can help you get it inexpensively. We have a variety of products to work with different companies. And I know some people are concerned about nurses and labs and, having all that stuff come to your house. We even have products that we can get people into without the lab work.
That's
but
good.
In this time of uncertainty, it's our belief that people do need to have some sort of life insurance, because what happens, the media keeps blowing us up with all these number of deaths. I think they're overlooking all the positive outcomes and all the people that are surviving more than the people that are dying. But
right.
People do have that on the back of their mind. What do I do if something happens? Sit down, give us a call, talk to us. Let us guide you through these processes and, make things easier for you.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, when you think about life insurance is kind of scary, because if you work for a company and you don't know exactly what's in the background of that policy, a lot of times you don't have that. The company owns the structure of that. And you just say, well, I work for this company, I'm sure that they're doing the best they can. But hey, what if you're killed outside the job versus on the job? What if it is a pandemic and they say this person died of this? There are some policies, I believe, out there that don't pay anything. So
right, exactly.
That's
exactly true. And so we're always a believer of when we're talking people through setting up goals and plans for people, we don't just talk about their personal finances, but what about futures? Right. What about the future of their children or their family or any of these things? And there's a policy that is unique to our company that's called Term Life with Living Benefits. And, not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people understand it. But what that living benefit part means is that if something happens to you while you're alive, you can take advantage of those benefits. And I can give you a perfect example of this. We had a young gentleman, I believe it was like 20 years of age, got a policy, and a month later, he made his first payment, okay? His first payment. And a month later, he was diagnosed with blood clots in his lungs and in his brain, and told that if he didn't have them operated on, he would be dead in 2 months. The company paid out 90% of his policy, and he's still alive today. So that's money that was able to help him through a time of severe medical expenses, right, loss of wages, things of that nature that a lot of people take for granted. Oh, I've got insurance. Well, right, how good is that insurance?
Right.
And there again, what if you're, in this particular situation of your client that just lost his job? What if his only insurance was that the job provided for him?
Right.
Now, what does he have? What would happen if he were to say develop, God forbid, develop coronavirus.
Right.
Well, with these living benefit policies, and let's say a person ends up with coronavirus and ends up on a respirator, that would possibly trigger that living benefit package and give you the ability to, generate some income to help pay your medical expenses and pay lost wages while you're trying to figure this thing out.
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people forget about life insurance as far as what insurance is really for. Life insurance is not designed to be for you. If
Right.
you're paying, it's for your legacy, your wife, your, spouse, loved
Right,
one,
exactly. What's crazy is you and I both, in your industry and in my industry, we see all the time people posting GoFundMe accounts. And it's crazy to think about. By law, we have to have insurance on our car or our home, but we don't have to have insurance on ourselves. So it's okay to have life insurance or it's okay to have insurance on your car, but it's also okay to leave your family penniless and broke at the end of it all. And that to me is wrong. And people really need to be thinking about those things so that their families aren't having to struggle and do these GoFundMe accounts.
The negative side of that, Andy, is if you really break it down, life insurance itself is as cheap as your car insurance.
Or cheaper.
Yeah. The guaranteed thing about that is you are going to get some cash value depending on the policy that you've got at the end of the road,
Exactly.
Where I tell you what, if something happens to you today, I guarantee you that you're not going to be able to come back and get money off of your car insurance. They're not going to pay you anything for, well, hey, you were with us for 15 years and never had a claim.
Right. Yeah. You sold that car. Sorry about your luck. Time to insure the new car. Yeah.
So, okay, Andy, thank you very much. Hey, why don't you, just in case somebody is interested in contacting you, you want to give them your phone number and your email address. I'm also going to put this at the bottom of the video itself.
Yeah, sure. My phone number is 615-972-4117. That's 615-972-4117. And my email address is andy.wfg18@gmail.com.
Awesome. Hey, Andy, this was fun, bud. I appreciate you. I appreciate your experience. And I think right now, man, you've got a really good service for people that, are either potentially having a hard time or potentially will have a hard time, depending on how long this issue goes on. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're actually starting to do Zoom calls on a daily and weekly basis with certain individuals. We're doing group presentations just to try to educate people on the benefits of what we can do to help them.
Right. Well, hey, thank you again very much, and we will talk soon.
All right, David, great talking to you.
Thanks, Andy. Bye.
Bye.